I woke up one morning to find my entire driveway blocked off. A bright orange barricade planted across it like I was some stranger trespassing on my own land. The sign said, "Road closed, no through traffic." But I knew better. Nobody else's driveway was closed. No other sign stood on any other street. This was targeted. This was personal. And it had Karen Benson written all over it. I wasn't part of her HOA, never signed a single paper. But that didn't stop her from trying to control me like I was another pawn in her perfect little neighborhood game. That was the day I realized this wasn't going to end with a polite conversation. This was going to be a fight. My name is Daniel Hayes. I've spent more than 20 years in construction, building homes, office towers, bridges that people still drive across today. I thought I'd seen stubbornness in project managers and greed in developers. But nothing in all those years prepared me for the kind of obsession a woman like Karen carried. My uncle left me this place after he passed away. A modest house sitting on enough land to breathe and think. I thought I'd spend my days here fixing fences, drinking coffee on the porch. Maybe finally slowing down after decades of early mornings and long shifts. But within 1 week of moving in, I learned that peaceful doesn't exist when Karen Benson is your neighbor. She showed up at my door dressed like she was heading into a board meeting, navy blazer pressed sharp, folder tucked under her arm. She smiled, but it was one of those smiles that doesn't touch the eyes. "Mr. Hayes, welcome to the community," she said, giving me one of those handshakes that feels more like a challenge than a greeting. Then her eyes slid past me, scanning my house, my truck, even the unfinished repairs on the fence line. I could practically see her making a list of infractions in her head. Finally, she pulled out the thickest packet of papers I'd ever seen. Community guidelines. Every page full of restrictions I never agreed to. I told her plain and simple, my property isn't under your HOA. For the first time, her mask slipped. She laughed lightly, the kind of laugh people use when they're buying time. "Oh, I understand some of the older properties had different arrangements, but over time we've worked to ensure consistency. I prefer things the way they are," I said, standing my ground. Her smile thinned, eyes narrowing just enough to make her real intentions clear. She shoved the packet against my chest, hard enough that I had to take it or let it fall. "Well, if you change your mind, you know where to find me." I didn't even open the thing. Straight into the trash. That should have been the end. Instead, it was only the beginning. First came the letters, no postage, just slipped into my mailbox. Warnings about my lawn, threats about unauthorized modifications. Then 2 guys in reflective vests started walking my property line, clipboards in hand. "Compliance inspection," they said. I asked who sent them. They hesitated, then packed up and left when I told them to get the hell off my land. That night, I drove down to the zoning office myself. No inspection scheduled. Record of any request. Karen had sent them, hoping I wouldn't question it. Days later, I found the barricade, bright orange, screaming across my driveway. I marched straight to her house, pounded on her perfect little door. She opened it with that smug tilt of her head. "Mr. Hayes, what a surprise." "Move the barricade," I told her. She shrugged, voice syrupy sweet. "I'm afraid I don't have jurisdiction over road work. You'll need to call the city." "I already did," I shot back. "No work scheduled." Her smile sharpened. "Well, that's unfortunate." And then she closed the door in my face. That's when I knew. This wasn't about rules. This was about control. The petty harassment piled up like clockwork. My trash wasn't collected, even though everyone else's was. My mail came late or not at all. Notes started appearing on my windshield. Warnings about too bright exterior lighting. Accusations about my shed being unpermitted. It was all fake. All meant to grind me down until I either quit or caved. And it worked for a while. I sat at my kitchen table one night staring at my uncle's old deed, wondering if I was the one being stubborn. Maybe I should just sign her papers, pay the fees, let her have her power, and live quietly. Maybe fighting was pointless. But then I looked out the window at the trees my uncle had planted, the shed we built together one summer, the land that had been in my family for decades. Walking away would have meant betraying all of that. And I couldn't do it. I wasn't raised to fold. The breaking point came when I found my side gate wide open one night. The screws were scattered on the ground. Lock gone. Somebody had been inside my yard. I grabbed a flashlight and followed the footprints through the grass until I found a survey stake hammered into the soil with bright tape on top. That's when the truth hit me like a brick. Karen wasn't just harassing me. She was trying to annex my land. I went to the county office the next morning. The clerk hesitated before admitting it. A request had been submitted to expand the HOA's boundaries, still under review. But we both knew who filed it. I didn't even need her to say the name. A day later, a notice appeared. A hearing at the community center. 2 days away. No chance to prepare. No appeal. I showed up anyway. The room felt like a courtroom. 5 members behind a long table. Karen in the middle. Posture perfect. Smile razor sharp. "Mr. Hayes," she began, "we've received numerous complaints regarding your property." I cut her off, dropped my stack of evidence on the table with a thud. "Every single complaint signed by you, not neighbors, not residents, just you." The other board members shifted uncomfortably, whispering among themselves. Karen didn't flinch. "As president, it's my duty to uphold standards." "You don't have jurisdiction," I said, pulling out my deed. "This property was never part of your HOA. My uncle opted out when this neighborhood was built. That hasn't changed." She pressed her lips together, tried to shift the subject. But I laid down photos, time-stamped, clear, of my lawn, my trash bins, my shed. Every claim she made was a lie, for the first time. Her smile cracked. The meeting ended without a ruling, but I knew she wasn't finished. That night, I installed trail cameras and reinforced my locks. Good thing, too, because the next evening I caught a figure creeping near my shed, crowbar in hand. My floodlight hit him, and he bolted into the trees. Inside the shed. The floorboards were pried up. Somebody had been digging, so I pried them up myself. Buried beneath was a rusted metal box. Inside, old property documents, yellowed and fragile. But the names were clear. Benson. Her father's signature. Pages of fraudulent transfers. Deeds rewritten illegally decades ago. Suddenly, it all made sense. This wasn't about grass length or paint color. Karen was protecting a lie her family had built their entire HOA empire on. I made copies, locked them away, and the next morning Karen showed up at my door. No smile this time. Her jaw was tight. "We need to talk," she said. I leaned against the frame. "No, Karen, you need to listen. It's over." Her eyes flickered. For the first time, I saw fear. I took the papers to my lawyer, a tough guy I'd trusted on a messy construction deal years ago. He flipped through the pages, eyebrows rising higher with each one. Finally, he leaned back. "Daniel, you've got enough here to burn her whole world down." That's exactly what I wanted. The fallout was fast. Journalists got anonymous tips. County officials reopened old records. Subpoenas were issued. Neighbors whispered. Karen tried to spin it, called the documents outdated, irrelevant. But the panic in her voice betrayed her. Then an old board member stepped forward, admitted he'd been pressured into signing things by Karen's father, that Karen herself had carried the fraud forward. That was the final blow. One morning, the entire neighborhood got an email. Karen Benson was resigning for personal reasons. No apology, no explanation, just silence. That evening, I sat on my porch. The air was still. No letters stuffed in my mailbox. No strangers sneaking around with clipboards. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. As the sun went down, I saw her at the end of her pristine driveway, arms folded, no folder in her hand, no smug smile on her face. She just stood there, watching the street she no longer controlled. Our eyes met for a moment. She knew. I didn't have to say a word. The war was over, and she'd lost everything. And if there's one lesson I carry from it, it's this. Never let false power rewrite what's rightfully yours, because sooner or later the truth comes out. And that's exactly what we fight for here on HOA Drama Unfolded.